officially recording. So this one, as we were just talking about, I think is going to be a little bit little
Atypical.
little different because one, this is a band I didn't know. You told me you're
Yeah,
like, hey,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about these guys, and you're like, you gave me a couple to choose from, and I listened to both, and this one really jumped out at me because it has like a definitely this is where I'll go to. I think it's going to jump into the questions of like, what is punk, all this stuff, because punk for most part always has this kind of like sound or like oi feel or poppy punk. There's like different variations of it, of course, which goes into the variations. We've had the transplants. There's been a lot of like hip hop influence in punk, and that's what um this band that we're going to be going over. And I guess yeah, it's band, right? So
Yeah,
we're going
yeah.
to be
Soul
doing
Glo.
Soul Glow, and the
Yeah.
song that I listened to specifically was Driponomics.
That
Um,
song slaps.
and it's got a lot of lyrics here too to talk about, which I think will be good for um me to read over it. But yeah, it was different for me because it was one, it was new music. A lot of times I just kind of get into my little cusp to where when I get time to listen to music, I'm usually listening to like the same kind of bands over. First of all, there's been so many bands and so much music. I can go back and listen to bands from the 80s,
Oh
90s,
yeah.
thousands, and it's still new to me because there's an album I haven't found or whatever, right? So
Yeah. There's so much out there. Yeah.
yeah, this one completely new. What year did this come out? 2022.
2021, I think. Oh, 2022.
22.
Yeah. It's brand
So
spanking new. Yeah, when we're talking about punk, they're one of the newer punk bands out there. And what how I feel um is that what we're seeing in newer alternative music, especially in like punk, for example, is that we're seeing inclusion of identities, whether queer or trans. We're also seeing, yeah, like BIPOC identities that they're finally getting like a voice in a lot of these different genres that they didn't have before.
mhm.
Like punk, yeah, I mean, there's an argument, you can say, oh yeah, well, I mean, it's, there is a history of, non-white voices in punk, but it kind of dwindled after like the 80s, I feel like, in a lot of ways.
There's Bad Brains. I mean, there's a few others.
Yeah,
And
but the
one
Bad
thing,
Brains was,
yeah,
like early 80s, and yeah, like the bassist of the Dead Kennedys was black, but that's about it for a lot. Like there is a culture, there is a history of black people in punk, but I'd say that like especially in the zeitgeist, like what people think of, it's very white centric.
yeah, and I think
Um,
with almost all rock as well, right? Like
exactly,
growing up,
exactly.
like almost all
Yeah.
alternative, whether it's heavy metal to, I mean, the only ones that kind of like jump out to me that would be, and it's because it's a little bit abnormal. Like when Ice T did what was his band Body Count, I think.
Body count, yeah, body
Yeah, it's
count.
like it makes some little headlines here and there, but for the most part, it's music that's typically always been, and it makes sense. I mean, it came from one of the widest places ever, London, England, and kind of merged all that stuff to where it's always to me it's always been unfortunate because the themes though have always been to open up and accepting to um minorities, whether that is
Yeah.
like one of the biggest things, like I think punk labeled it way before it's been getting spread around now. It's good that it's getting popular now, but leftover crack, you can look at some of their old CDs and it was anti-racist, sexist, homophobic,
Yeah. Oh
anti all
yeah.
that.
There's
And
definitely been yeah, through lines of that in certain segments of punk culture for sure.
mhm.
But what I was getting at is that since like the late 2010s, early 2020s, there's been a reinsurgence of yeah, like BIPOC and queer voices and punk and rock music that we just weren't seeing like we're seeing now. Like this band, Soul Glo, very black band. I think their drummer's white, and that's about it. And
Yeah.
then there's also Zulu out of LA, which are an all black punk band, and they kick ass as well. And there's a couple others, but those are the two really standouts.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, yeah, there's just there's a couple bands out of the UK that are pretty dope that are queer. Yeah, no, like it's still very underground and it's kind of hit and miss. Like there isn't a ton of it, but there's definitely a lot more than I feel like there was for a long time. And with this band, yeah, especially on on this song and a couple other songs on the album, they're infusing direct influence from hip hop into it,
Yeah, and I could
which
hear
is
that a
really
lot.
dope. Oh
Which
yeah, with the
yeah, this is why
808s, yeah, the
when
808s on it, yeah, there's no question.
yeah, when I first listened to it, I didn't know if I liked it at first. It took me a minute. I like the words, I like the energy, but I'm so used to hearing that, whether it's, that rock influence, that guitar, the stuff a lot of stuff that I do love about,
Yeah,
the guitar. That's why I did take me to this other thing. I'm like, wait a minute, but there was, early, old school Beastie Boys or some of the, solo artists. That Transplants is the one that always comes to mind, but even like Tim Armstrong, he has like a lot of solo stuff that can be very, I guess it goes ska influence to reggae, to where there are these like different niffs into it, to where
yeah,
I don't want to say it was an acquired taste. I just think it did catch me off guard. You're like, all right,
yeah,
listen to this one, because also we listened to the
and
video too, and that was a little more typical what I was
yeah,
expecting.
yeah, and I
This,
think that's kind of the point, honestly. I think it's
yeah,
supposed to catch you off guard.
yeah, which that's what punk was, right? Punk was,
Yeah,
when you look at the roots of it, it was new fast music that was always to the point, and that's where I've always gone to. I think it's if I'm having to define punk, it's so hard. Everyone goes back and forth with this thing, but to me, it's extreme honesty. That's what punk's
yeah,
always been. Whether or not that's gonna be in like a really hardcore, even like metalish sound to punk, it's just a very strong honesty. And with being very honest and true to yourself, you kind of have to have this always like anti-authoritarian type of point of view too, because you got to be self. As soon as you get authorities, things like this, you start representing or respecting something to that degree, it no longer becomes true, no longer yourself. And that's what I realized with this with Soul Glo is when they're going through and they're singing, you can hear the honesty. I could hear what they're saying. It seems political, right? Talking, which was kind of a play on trickle down economics, but then they
yep,
say trickle down driponomics,
yeah,
which is good lyrics too. So I mean, obviously, you know how I heard about them. You said it to me a couple weeks ago,
yep,
and
yep, yep, yep.
I gave it a listen. I had to give it a couple listens, and I was like, man, I'm like, do I want to talk about this? These guys, like, what is this? So
I
how did
half
you find
expected
out
you to
about
say that you didn't want to check it out. Um, so I am heavily online, and
them?
there's a particular music reviewer that I'm really into, Anthony Fantano, and he does this YouTube channel called The Needle Drop. And yeah, he reviews all different kinds of music as it comes out, like a lot of hip hop, but also punk, metal, folk, you name it. He reviews it if he finds it interesting, and he gave it a rave review, and he's like, "Yeah, if you like experimental music, if you like punk," and the fact that he combined those two in his review, I was like, "Okay, I got to check this out." And I was like, "Yo, like this is unlike anything else coming out right now." Because it is punk. Like their energy is very punk. It's very abrasive. It's very in your face. It's very political.
Yeah,
It's fast. All of those things are punk, right?
it's
But
truly why I
it
liked it. Yeah,
yeah, but in this song and in a handful of other songs on the album, there's a few of other influences. They use a lot of like dissonant noises, like electronic type stuff that they'll like kind of slide in there, kind of like it sounds like feedback from like a radio signal sometimes. And lots of 808s on this song for sure. For the uninitiated, that's a kind of drum kick sound that it's specifically just like on the low end in the mix. And it's very common in hip hop, but it's used in other genres as well. Um, and yeah, man. And then there's some rapping on there.
it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's where I started going into where like you know. I'm like, why at first did I not like it? Why was I at first listening to this? I don't want to say I was uncomfortable, but I guess like even like the bands that like I heard use hip hop into, punk, like the Transplants, I'll keep talking. One of my favorite artists of all times, Tim Armstrong. It was still, people of my culture, right? Tim Armstrong's white.
Yeah,
It was that voice coming in. And in here, um, it was like you said, they're black. It was a very different voice that I that got, kind of shout out to me in like that punk style. So it was um very unique to me. It kind of caught me off guard.
yeah,
I've listened to, hip hop or rap, I expect it, right? It's
yeah, yeah.
a little bit, but this was basically, well, I mean, we'll go over the lyrics here in a minute, right? But
Buckle up.
was obviously definitely a different culture here, and which was I like too. I like a lot of like other cultural, like this Gogo Bordello, and there's some like you can find some folk punk bands and stuff that will do these
Yeah,
type of things, which is why I like them. It catches me that off guard, and this one did, yeah, it caught me off guard. This song has the N word in it
a
a bunch of
lot.
times, and I'm like thinking, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, there's a couple punk songs that has that word, but it was used like the Dead Kennedys use it, but they use it from like the 80s when they actually just said it before ER everything because
Yeah.
product of the times, whatever. It's just, and I think John
Yeah.
Biafra was um
He was trying to be ironic, I think.
well, he's just using it in the it was how holiday in Cambodia, right? And he says you brag
Yeah,
about how
yeah.
the N words feel, So I think he was just using, but I think it was just more common back then and stuff too. So it was weird, and that's probably one of the only other songs besides a band called Anti Heroes that used it very inappropriately, and they're kind of like borderline, kind of they're probably a piece of shit band, really. So I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's any other artist that use that word. And if you are,
Not in this genre, yeah.
and definitely not 90s forward. This if they did, it was
Yeah.
like before, it was like 80s, 70s. I think that it would have been in there, which
Yeah.
yeah. And definitely they didn't use it with the A ending. It was always the ER if you do listen to those old bands. And I can't even think of any besides the Dead Kennedys one. Anti-Heroes too. I can't really
I don't even know
think
that
of any.
band.
What? Yeah,
Anti-Heroes? I don't even know them.
Anti-Heroes, they have a song, they have a couple fun fast songs, but there's more like um oh what is they really hated on MTV and like sellouts around that time. They're like probably one of the
Okay.
first bands that really like yelled about it. They were like homeless. They're on the Decline of Western Civilization Volume 2. That second one, so
Okay.
not the first volume, but not the one with Darby Crash and yeah, which also I don't know why it makes me even start thinking about this, some of the shockingness of punk, because this is going way off topic here, but Kanye West, we're gonna throw him up and things. He's throwing around swastikas and stuff, right? But it's like, what's he doing? He's talking about the shock values. And then one things he put on his Instagram was from a band I really like called the Sex Pistols, where Sid Vicious used to walk around wearing a swastika.
Yeah, I
And
did.
then you look at Darby Crash as well. He used to wear the Iron Cross and whatever, and you get into it, it was about the shock value, right? That's what they said it was. And I don't know, give product of their times, not brilliant. Johnny Rotten says Sid Vicious didn't even understand that, didn't know anything about World War II. So it was just
Yeah.
completely, stupid for him to do it. But he did it because mostly other people told him it'll really piss people off.
Yeah.
And also in the
From what
70s,
I've
you're
read,
wearing,
it was just kind of like an ignorant, like, yeah, let's piss people off kind of a thing.
mhm. Because in England in the 70s, you're wearing a swastika, you're actually walking, or a lot of times you're walking around, World War II vets that fought,
Yeah.
so it was a much more abrasive type of,
Yeah.
yeah, fuck you type of thing. And shock. I think shock's the biggest part about it.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why that took me the whole thing where I'm like, yeah, what's Kanye West doing? Like he's
Uh,
a huge character. I don't
that's a whole other conversation, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is Kanye West punk? Because he seems very true and very
No,
honest, but definitely
he,
takes you. He goes.
yeah. If you want to talk about Kanye, go look at an FD Signifier video, and he'll explain it better than I
Man,
would.
I just chalked it up to I think he's mentally ill. which is what a lot of punk artists probably are, though. But I'm just throwing
Sure, but
that.
yeah, I don't think that's fair to other people that are bipolar to say, "Oh, he's just bipolar. He's just off his meds." Because
Yeah,
also incredibly manipulative to women in his life, and he's
yeah.
incredibly toxic. And yeah, he's just been in a spiral for years and years because he hasn't been on his meds.
Well, and Pete
Um,
Davidson messed him up. You ever see him? He will rant about Pete Davidson for a while about how not funny he is, which he's all right, but it was we don't know
it's
why
a
he
whole
really hates him.
thing. No, it's because Pete Davidson was dating Kim Kardashian for a
Yep,
minute.
yep. He
Yeah.
couldn't let that one go. Um,
I'm fairly well versed, but
yeah,
that's a
it's
whole
funny, I
other
guess. It's pretty
conversation.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
that took me on that tangent, but it was what was interesting was he started posting about Sid Vicious and stuff, and then I was like, it would get weird if they start like censoring certain punk songs and stuff. Because I'm like, I don't know. I mean, because I don't think any punk band would have, they did things out of that from a place of real honesty, and the whole punk idea um is to be anti-authoritarian, which has always been weird. Like we talked a little bit about the skinhead thing too. It's like with the Social D song, it's complete. What punk is completely being yourself and accepting, I think, to other people for them being themselves. So any kind of like fascism, authoritarian dictate, that's the opposite of what it's a complete oxymoron. You can't be a Nazi or fascist and be a punk rocker, in my opinion on it, my world on it. Just doesn't make sense. You can't. So
Word. Anyway, yeah, let's bring it back to the song.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna. So, do you feel? Here's the words, the lyrics to it. So, Driponomics, and it's a lot of lyrics here. Um,
Yeah.
do you feel me? They want to persecute me because I get money responsibly, ethically. Every day I get this money. Inward, me. Trickle down, driponomics, yeah. The flipping of drip. My little cousin, just a kid, but he getting the shit. From the cameras to the scammers, inward TJ, and that's six times TJ, TJ, TJ. Flipping the only way, a inward gun, a B coming up quick. Trickle down, driponomics, yeah. The flipping of drip, my little cousin, just a kid, but he getting the shit. From the cameras to the scammers, inward TJ. Flipping the only way, and we're gonna be coming up quick. And then this part, off white, Birkin,
Yeah.
Telfar, inwards going hard, Yeezy, Nike, Supreme still hot to the hype beasts. Off white, Birkin, Telfar, inwards going hard, Yeezy, Nike, Supreme still hot to the beast. And then it goes, shut up, put one in the air, because when I get it out of everywhere. Serving and slinging, I'm not sitting scared. Elites don't fight fair. I got no time to care. 40 years of Reaganomics. This what we get. Inward, it is what it is. The whole world in service and shit. Deliver food we spit in. Can't even cook for the kids. Yo, my inward stay flipping gear in a pinch. Reselling, upselling, I'm telling you, labor to get comfortable is only for the gullible. Shut your lip, cop a zip, or flip a shoe or two. Stock X went retail off the riot loot. Ain't nothing as ugly as a balance in the red. I want bans on every politician's head. Um, and then f them inwards because they stingy with the bread. They stingy with the bread. We want blood instead, and you can tell them what I said. I thought I told you, motherfuckers. It's my blow. Y'all inwards just living it. Gang, 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 gang. Inward, I'm so turnt. What if they give me a chance? What if I flip my advance? All my real bitches over again till I can't. Hurry the fuck up. Inward, and the world been touched by my hand, bitch. Um, fucking being good, I'm a bad bitch. If he buying bags, I'm a fuck him like a savage. I be popping tags Cause a bitch living lavish. Bitches gonna hate cause they know they can't have this. Yeah. Risking it all like a rock star, material girl, bitch. I'm copping it all. That is a fact. I'm speaking that raw. Just like my bundles that flow to my draws. I'm back on my shit. Don't you forget. I am that bitch. I'm popping my shit. Bitches talk slick. I pull out that stick. I give her a kiss. Then I do a trick. It gotta be me if I'm rocking the Louis, I think. They fuck
Yeah.
with they fuck with the drip, and it's wet like jacuzzi. I'm young. I'm ratchet. I'm his favorite hoochie. Need me a new inward who carry the Thule. Trickle down driponomics, yeah, the flipping of drip. My little cousin just a kid, but he getting that shit. From the cameras to the scammers, inward, flipping the only way a inward gonna be coming up quick. Trickle down driponomics, yeah, the flipping of drip. My little cousin just a kid, but he getting the shit. From cameras to the scammers, inward, TJ 6 times. Flipping the only way a inward gonna be coming up quick. I mean, I feel like I'm like a teacher trying to read something here. I feel so off and out of,
I knew you would. Yeah, I was
my
like,
element. Yeah.
yeah, are you sure you want to go over this song? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm game. Yeah, no, there's
Well, because it's such a
definitely
good song. It's a unique song. It puts
yeah,
that vulnerability, uncomfortableness even for like that's why when I first heard it, I'm not used to listening to songs like this, right? I mean, like you can go through almost the entire punk albums that I have, from all Clash, whatever. There's no lyrics like that, right?
yeah. And yeah, the when the lyrics changed genders, that was actually a feature on the record from a rapper named Mother May Rose, Mary Rose.
Yeah, there's so much
Uh,
going on in the song too, which is
yeah,
great because
there's
it's
so much
literally,
going on it. It's chaotic. It's very chaotic.
yeah.
Um, and I actually saw them live. I think it was last year, might have been the year before.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was 2023. And dude, when this song was going on, it was nuts. They were throwing guitars up in the air and all kinds of stuff. It
It
was
has
wild.
that rock feel to it, right? That's why I
Yeah,
decided, like, first I was like, at first, like, I didn't really like it. I was like, what I even listen to? I was probably listening to it the way it sounded like I read that, like, okay, what the fuck they even saying? Some of those things I don't know the slang, and I'm very out of my element with that. But
yeah,
the more I dissected it, and this is where I want to talk to you about it, um, it sounds very honest that he's working it's
yeah,
going into that there's so much scam, and part of the scamming I took on it is working in this damn system we have sometimes, right? 9 to 5 job for till we're what 70 years old to get
yeah,
I don't know I can go down that route, and that's where I start that and that's when I started connecting like, oh, this is how I'm interpreting the song. This is actually kind of
yeah.
meaning to me.
Well, I think some of it, I think it's to be taken fairly literal. Yeah, they're definitely talking about when they're talking about flipping. Yeah, that usually is in reference. I mean, it can be in reference to multiple things depending on the context. But yeah, I think they said flip a sack or something like that at one point. Yeah, they're talking about selling drugs.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of that is about, yeah, there's definitely reference to like stealing clothes and stuff like that. And yeah, when they're saying they want to put uh, where they want to put what was it? They want to put like a rack on the president's head or something like that.
Mhm.
They're saying that they want to, yeah, they want someone to take them out.
Yeah, and that's when I started thinking about that. I'm like, okay, NoFX literally said that
Yeah,
on the Conan O'Brien show when they played one time that everyone wants us to. It was George Bush at the time.
yeah,
It was something like the whole world wants us to kill our blanket president, which was pretty punk rock at the time too. And then
yeah.
Rancid. I mean, there's they have Rancid had tons of songs about Tim Armstrong's old days about selling drugs and doing
Oh
and
yeah,
I picked that right up and.
yeah. The very first Offspring record, there was a song on it where the album ended up getting banned because of it. It was called "Murder the President,"
Yeah.
and it's hard to find that song, but it's out there. You know.
It's on a EP with Off with Her Head, I think, as well. They had some
Yeah,
behind the
yeah,
scenes.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's a long history of saying stuff like that in punk.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Literally, that's what punk was. I mean, one of the biggest punk things going back to the Sex Pistols was the Sex Pistols made "God Save the Queen." They called her a fascist on her 25th year jubilee. It's like when it all came around at the same time too. And so it was the first time the Top of the Pops number one song was banned. It was censored out. We weren't allowed to know
Yeah.
what it was. I mean, that was when, and then they actually banned the "God Save the Queen" EP
Hmm.
from like all record shops in England and stuff like
And they
so.
weren't allowed to play in the UK for a while too.
They had to change their name and they still would, but their every show was a new name.
Yeah.
It was clever shit. And yeah, I don't know. And that's when like you get that speed and you can start feeling that anger in the song, and it gives me that working class feel.
Yeah.
Kind of like this bullshit world we're in with like Reaganomics, like this fucked up, system that if you're not, it's super hard to get out of, right? Um,
Yeah.
unless
They're
you're,
just saying the system fucks us over, so let's fuck them over. It's basically what they're saying. It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, they don't the system's designed not for us, so we have to find different ways to get what we want.
I can't think of many songs where in my world of records that I have that suddenly I hear someone saying, "Yeah, I'm that bitch." I thought it's like I always found it kind of comical and stuff, but I'm like suddenly here I
Yeah.
am, I'm listening to it.
It's
Um,
it's
yeah.
definitely a thing in Southern hip hop,
Hmm.
and they're from the South.
Yeah.
I can't remember if they're from Georgia or the Carolinas, but it's one of those two.
Yeah.
And
But so kind of like moving into like why I think this is punk too is what was very nice about it. Almost refreshing was
yeah,
they kept their themselves, their voice, their words on it, to where I don't want to criticize, Ice T too much, but it seemed like when he went and made Body Count, which I don't know if he just did that for money or whatever,
I
it
think he did it
wasn't the
for
same type
fun.
of
It seemed like he did
lyrics.
it for fun.
Yeah, fair enough. But it seemed like it was different kind of lyrics, didn't it? Like he wasn't singing the same way he did when he made, his rap songs. It seemed like we changed almost for like a white audience. As I guess that's how I felt. I was like, oh, you're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
make
It
this for
definitely
me.
felt like he was trying. It was like, yeah, let's play metal.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it like. He does rap though,
Yeah.
for body count, but
Yeah, there's some
it's
rap stuff in it and
definitely
stuff for sure.
yeah, but it's definitely more metal aesthetic. But yeah, yeah. I mean, if I were to play this for people that are into hip hop, they'd be like, turn that shit off,
Yeah.
because it's definitely more everything about it. Even though there's rap, even though yeah, some of the elements of the song structure have hip hop in it. It is more tailored for a punk rock audience in every way.
Yeah.
The abrasiveness of it is not something that is common in hip hop. Like industrial hip hop sometimes is abrasive, but not quite like this.
Hmm.
And yeah, just like the fastness of it, it feels like yeah. How do we? Yeah, let's do something different and keep it punk. Like that feels like what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that too. Like, I mean, I was thinking too, like, could you mosh this? Yeah, you could.
Oh yeah, dude. When this song was playing, when I saw them live, so much moshing. You kidding?
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
nuts.
And that was part of why I think when I was like way younger, before I realized what, um, so much when I got deeper into what the music was or whatever. But part of why I used to what always kind of turned me away from like hip hop and rap was at punk shows, it was one outlet to where I could actually mosh and let some, anger out. And, it was a place where it was finally okay for me to push someone. They pushed me back. I felt comfortable, because I lived in a
Yeah,
house, and just side where I didn't have martial arts. I didn't have like anything else like that. And so those shows were like, it was like a real therapy for me. And at hip hop rap shows, when I went to a few of them, it was mostly people kind of just like standing, watching, smoking pot or whatever, which was cool. I could dig it, but I wanted to go and just fucking let loose, and nothing more exhilarating when you're
yeah,
seeing the like like you said, throwing the guitars, and when they're
yeah.
even fucking having like little tantrums on stage and shit too. That's what was part of what fucking really fed me in to a lot of a lot of rock in general, but especially punk. Um, and I can feel that with this band. So I got to listen to more. I haven't listened to anything else by them.
Yeah, I would recommend checking out that whole album. It's called, I think it's uh, Diaspora Problems. There's a lot of cool songs on there.
Yeah.
Um, it's a fun time. Yeah, Gold Chain Punk is the first song on there, and Coming Correct is cheaper, and
So I'm kind of
Thumbsucker.
curious, who do they tour with, you think?
They toured with Zulu a good
Okay.
amount. That's who I saw them with. Zulu was playing. It was a double headliner show. And yeah, I mean, they just play mostly with a lot of other underground punk bands.
Yeah.
There's
And
there's
they're on
a
my favorite
new,
record label,
yeah, their new
Epitaph.
hardcore is basically what they are. I mean, and there's definitely a resurgence of hardcore in the underground scene.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what got me into it when I saw that they were on Epitaph. I forgot about this, so I saw it again.
yeah,
I was like, okay, because Epitaph is, Brett Gurrett's Bad Religion.
yep,
Basically, we wouldn't have modern day punk without that label, and also without Bad Religion, but especially without Epitaph. They made the Punkorama volume comps. They,
yeah,
you know, freaking turned down lots and lots of money at the time to stay independent and
yeah.
doing their shit. They're the
One of the
first,
few independent labels that's like still legitimately independent.
yeah. Um, I think Social D, we talked to them. They definitely released a couple Social D records. They've also
Yeah,
released L7. They released The Offspring. Their first like major their first two records was Epitaph. I don't know about the first record, but I know the record that had Come Out and Play, the second record,
yeah,
Man,
Smash.
that
Yeah,
was
Smash is that
Epitaph.
was their final record on Epitaph.
Yeah, because after that, I don't blame them. Offspring wanted the money, so okay.
Yeah,
And then they also gave that way. If it wasn't for that, Rancid's first records were on there. And then they were able to get Hellcat records, and Hellcat is why we have Dropkick Murphys, and I mean all these NoFX, Fat records, all that side too. So it's
yeah,
pretty cool shit, man.
yeah.
I'm happy you showed them to me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you dig it. Yeah, they're wild. They're a fun time. When I try to subvert people's expectations of what is punk, they're one of the first bands that come to mind. Where I'm like, you can't tell me that's not punk. It is. It's just different than anything you've heard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I always go with my thing with definition is I don't ever. I think I don't want to say wrong because it's whatever, but I think you can have punks in everything as long as to me it's always being honest about it.
Yeah,
So even if it's like complete metal, it doesn't have that set. That's why I think pop punk can have that,
yeah.
that little silliness or whatever, because they're
I
having
think
fun,
the
they're being honest
definitions
about
are pretty loose. I
it.
think, yeah, you could define punk in a lot of different ways, and I don't think you'd be wrong. You could define it. It's just that whatever definition someone creates for punk, there are outliers, and it's like, oh, well, they're not what you say they are, but you could still, under a different definition, say they're punk.
I guess
Um,
so. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
I
I do
mean,
have I guess my limits, and maybe I should be more open to it as well. And I mean, I haven't really played around with them before, but like one that comes to mind right now is Christian punk. I always thought I'm like that's an oxymoron. You can't be a Christian punk, but maybe I should challenge myself and be like, if they're
I
really
mean,
true to themselves, but then see, there's that
yeah,
authoritarian aspect again to where I'm like, wait a minute, if you just want to be who you are,
yeah.
then I don't
I
know. It
mean,
comes,
I'm not saying that we should like it, but I'm not going to say what it is and what it isn't, Like, in the same way that I despise it, but I still, on some level, have to say, sure, it's punk, is Nazi punk. It is punk. It's punk on different level. It's incredibly basic, and it's hateful. But yeah, it plays on the fast rhythm and the violence.
well, a
You
lot
know.
of punk's hateful. But it's hate
Yeah,
at
but
Nazis
it's
usually.
punching down. It's not punching up.
It's where it's punching. That's where the difference is
Yeah,
because a lot of like I was just joking there is like a lot of punk has hate in it. It's usually hate towards.
Yeah,
Nazis and
Nazis.
racists and freaking authoritarian and all that stuff. And so that's
Yeah.
why I still don't know. I feel like it's such a weird thing for it to be a not. It says it though,
Oh
Nazi
yeah,
punks
man.
fuck
I
off,
mean, that's
but
the thing about anarchy, yeah, for every good thing about it, there's something terrible, you know. And
100%,
Nazi punk
100%.
is, yeah, it's the antithesis for everything we like about punk, but it on
Because it's
some level we
anti-authoritarian.
have.
They're like, we need to have this huge authoritarian system. I'm
Yeah,
like,
man.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
but
man. No, it's I hear you. And fuck
police
Nazi
punks.
punks. But
That'll be the next thing. Police punks.
oh,
You
that's another thing. Yeah. Yeah, you can find video essays on the irony of conservative punk.
Yeah, and I will say this though. So here's where I'll go. Where I always say it's being true and stuff. Whether it's like if like a stupid ass Nazi punk, but if that's like genuinely their like true authentic self, then fuck them. But I get there's nothing worse to me though. I don't know if I wanted to say over that, but the fakeness, the phoniness, the sellouts. That's where the sellout part I think comes from is like when you're not being your genuine self.
Yeah,
That's not punk. Don't be fake.
sure.
If if you're a piece of shit, then I guess I don't know. It's a weird world. I mean, I guess that's better. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'll take the phonies over the Nazis, but I hear what you're saying, you know.
Well, it's worse if you ever have like someone that's a phony and then you find out they're like a Nazi.
Oh yeah.
You're like, you know what? That's fucking worse. I'd rather you have just known from the get go that
Yeah.
you're piece of shit. Um,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
um,
Yeah.
Probably also
Anyway.
spend too much like time. That was like a high school thing. You spend all this time thinking about this and labeling it, and you don't got time for that anymore. Just be
Yeah,
free, do what you want, enjoy yourself, and don't hate.
absolutely.
Don't hate
Yeah,
anybody
man.
except for hating the freaking the ones that punching down on you. That
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Um,
Do you have anything else you want to say on this song? This this meaning of
Give it a listen, and be patient with it.
so wait, hold on. What's the name come from? The Driponomics. I know it's like a play on Reaganomics, but the drip, it's like worse, right? It's like
Drip is bling. Drip is like gold chains, nice shoes. That's what drip is.
okay.
Um, yeah, that's a newer hip hop term for, yeah, like if someone is complimenting your drip, they're complimenting what you're wearing.
Showing again how disconnected I was from fucking this song you showed me. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is this?
Yeah, that's why they're referencing Louis Vuitton and
That's what I
all that
assumed. When
kind
they
of
said when
stuff.
when
And
I read it, I was like,
yeah, and
Lewis.
the
And I was like,
Yeezys
that's
and
yeah,
Nike. Yeah, they're talking about, all the things that they're wearing.
yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Appreciate it. I thank you again for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
You know, um, creme brulee. So,
Creme brulee.
all right. I'm gonna end it here.